4 year and that lets you save.
Who cares?
True Form Life.
Green look.
Welcome to another edition of Exploring Mind and Body. I'm your host, True Form's Drew Taddia, fitness expert. Be sure to find our True Form Facebook page. Check me out on Twitter. It's Drew Taddy at True Form Life. And as always, there's tons of information, including my blog regularly updated on trueformlife.com. We've got all kinds of valuable tips coming up on this week's show, all directed towards your health, starting right now.
This is Exploring Mind and Body with True Form's Drew Taddia, fitness expert on 96.5 CKFM.
Let's go over some quick and easy ways on how to prepare veggies, which we don't eat nearly enough in the meat and dairy industry we live in. Kind of funny, isn't it? When we ask or say what's for dinner, we always list the meat. Oh, we're barbecuing steak for dinner. Or, I bought a chicken for dinner. What happens when there's no meat? I don't know either. How about saying something like a stir fry for dinner or roasted veggies? My goal here isn't to try to get you to stop eating meat. Less would be a good idea, but I really just want to give you some ideas on how to prepare veggies. I think most people don't eat certain foods because they don't know how to prepare them. This happens often when I ask someone why they don't eat fish. Most of the time I don't get an answer. Then I ask how they prepare it. And I usually hear something along the lines of not knowing how to prepare it. There's so many things you can do to make a meal taste different or a certain food to taste different. Unfortunately for you, I'm not a gourmet chef. I only know how to cook simply. But I can give you some easy tips on how to make the same meal taste entirely different. I don't eat a wide array of different foods. In fact, my diet consists of a whole lot of quinoa, beans, and vegetables. But I do eat differently each day, and you can too. All you need to do is change a few things up, and the same foods will taste completely different. Roasted veggies are my favorite right now, so let's talk about them first. Roasted veggies taste absolutely wonderful without being biased or without embellishing. You have to try it out. It's so easy. All you have to do is chop and mix. Let me tell you how. Grab whatever veggies are in the fridge, are on sale, or whatever's in season. Then you're going to chop them up, bite-sized pieces. Put them in an oven-safe dish and add seasoning. I always put in garlic, not only because of the incredible nutritional properties, but also because I like the taste of roasted garlic. It adds a nice flavor to the veggies as well. Then throw in a tiny bit of olive oil, and lastly, sea salt and pepper. Preheat the oven at 350 degrees and place inside. And that's it. How much easier could it be? Prep time depends on what kind of veggies you're throwing in. For example, I chopped up some pumpkin and sweet potatoes in my last batch of roasted veggies. The pumpkin was a little more difficult to chop, so that took longer. Something else to note, if you don't like your veggies mushy, then you'll have to consider which vegetables cook longer. For example, carrots and sweet potatoes take longer than pumpkin, so you might want to add pumpkin after 10 minutes. This doesn't take long though, so prepare the roasted veggies first. Toss them in the oven, and then start working on whatever else you're going to eat with dinner or lunch. Beets and potatoes are another favorite of mine. When I was a kid, beets, along with liver for that matter, was one of the few things I didn't eat. I couldn't stand them, no matter how they were prepared. A number of years later, and a new twist on prep work, and I can eat these tiny garden beets as candy. I do prepare them the same way as before. A little oil, sea salt, and voila. They're easy to prepare and incredibly good for you and taste delicious. Beets also take longer to bake, so you might want to consider that if you're baking them with something else. Roasting veggies isn't the only way to prepare them. I'll get into details in another episode, but the short of it is, you can barbecue or steam all the same to stay healthy, and depending on what you're using on the stove, you can saute them as well. Do everything you can to stay away from the microwave when you're heating or cooking your food. In short, it kills the enzymes and nutrients in your food, which again we can get into in another episode. Of course, if you're looking to stay away from toxins or toxic material, you can check out my book, Detoxify Yourself, which is available at CompleteTruthProtein.co. A couple quick favorites of mine, barbecued broccoli. If you haven't tried it, don't be afraid to experiment. I actually don't add anything to these guys. I just place them on top of the barbecue and take them off while they're still crunchy. This is a perfect veggie to throw on while you're barbecuing in the summertime. As a steamed option, I like steamed sweet potatoes. Let me tell you about an experiment I made that is now my favorite way to prepare them. All I do is oversteam the sweet potatoes, so they're soft enough to mash. A couple brief notes quickly, it's always best to take veggies off while they're still crunchy. More nutrients stay intact this way. And you never want to boil vegetables. Most of the nutrients are lost in the water. So it's kind of a catch-22 if you want mashed veggies. But steaming is definitely a much better option to get your end result. Back to the recipe. So you oversteam the sweet potatoes, then throw them in a bowl and mash them up just like you would regular potatoes. I should also note that the sweet potatoes have been washed, skinned, and chopped up before I put them in the steamer. After they're mashed up, I throw in crushed garlic and add sea salt and pepper. Fresh dill straight from the garden, if possible, really makes the difference. And then sometimes I add a little almond milk for a creamy texture. And that's it. Hope it doesn't seem like a lot. It really isn't. None of these recipes take much time. This is how I learned to cook when I was a full-time athlete going to college without much money. So the food is healthy, it's cost efficient, and time efficient. Shouldn't be any problems all around throwing dishes like this together for yourself or your family. Don't be afraid to experiment, and don't be afraid to try new things out. Most of my favorite meals come by way of accident. You never know what you'll find in a mistake. It could be your next favorite meal. One thing's for certain, you'll never know if you don't try.
Exploring mind and body with True Form's Drew Taddia would not be possible without the help from the following sponsors: AG Foods in Didsbury, CLC Fitness Center, Health Street in the Cornerstone Shopping Center Olds, and Shoppers Drug Mart, working together to help build a healthier tomorrow. For more information on True Form Life, Drew Taddia, or how to become a sponsor of Exploring Mind and Body, visit TrueFormLife.com.
All right, this topic is about visualization. We're going to talk about just that in this segment because it's an exercise that can be utilized for a great advantage, and most people simply don't do it. In the athletic world, visualization is an art. Not as much with the younger groups as it should be, but with elite professional athletes, this is a staple to their performance. So much so, they'll tell you themselves, visualization is a big part of why they are and where they are, and how they were able to accomplish what they have. In the health and fitness world, if we work on visualization, we open up a door that very few do. We can widen our scope of success, and we can give ourselves the edge. That edge we're missing. Be it that last 10 pounds or staying motivated throughout a plateau. Let's have a look at some quotes athletes have to say about visualization. It's the repetition of affirmations that leads to belief. And once that belief becomes a deep conviction, things begin to happen. This is from Muhammad Ali, arguably and self-proclaimed the best boxer there ever was. I used a lot of visualization in terms of who I would be guarding and who would be guarding me. When I was walking down the street for, say, lunch, I'd imagine those individuals in front of me. I'd imagine going around them. This is from Isaiah Thomas, who's one of the best point guards of his time. Clearly, he visualized all day long. One of my favorites, an incredible quote from Bruce Lee, martial artist. I have a system of ridding my mind of negative thoughts. I visualize myself writing them down on a piece of paper. Then I imagine myself crumpling up that paper, lighting it on fire, and burning it to a crisp. This is a great idea for many negative emotions. Don't be afraid to write negative thoughts down and let them go by burning the paper. Release everything back to exactly where it came from. Some guys need to see things on a grease board. I like when you can see it in your mind, and that's what Marvin does too. He visualizes. He sees things in his mind so well. This is from Peyton Manning. He's talking about one of his favorite wide receivers. He's still playing and will be noted as one of the best quarterbacks that ever played the game. These quotes were sourced from mindtraining.net. These were some of the top athletes in their sport that I was able to find visualization quotes for. Now, I understand some of you are thinking, I'm not an athlete. What do I need this for? So let's get into the everyday person. Let me explain how a casual athlete or someone that simply wants to live healthier can benefit from these exercises. With my clients in particular, I ask them to write in a food journal. In this food journal, I ask them to find a picture they aspire to. The reason I do this is because this gives them an opportunity to actually consider what it is they want to accomplish, what they want to do, what they want to look like, etc. So many people start a program and have no idea what they want to accomplish, except to live healthier or lose some weight. That's usually not good enough to reach any type of goal, mostly because there isn't one. There's nothing stated, nothing written down, nothing to strive for. All these factors directed towards success. If you don't know where you're going or what you want to accomplish, then how can you find what you're after? The picture you want to find isn't the only reason this exercise is suggested. It's not the end result I'm always after. It's the actual exercise. Going through magazines, looking at pictures, and thinking about you, your life, and your health compared to someone you want to be like changes yourself on many levels. More recently, someone told me most pictures they looked at, they didn't believe they could do that or look like that. This was an important realization because if you don't have belief, you don't have much of anything. If you don't actually believe in yourself, if you set a thought or some sort of goal of losing 10 pounds, but don't believe you can get there, you're going to need to adjust that mindset before you'll see any results to happen. What if you have a goal of living healthier, which really isn't a goal if you ask me, but let's look at it anyways. Going through this exercise of finding a picture makes you think about what living healthy actually is, what it means to you, and what exactly it really is you want to accomplish. Setting vague ideas of goals isn't a good way to accomplish something. It's a good way to not be held accountable, and it's a good way to avoid failure, which leaves to very little accomplished. If you ask anyone who's ever accomplished something significant in their life, they failed numerous times, which is the main reason they've succeeded. So don't be afraid to fail, and set yourself something real you can go after. Visualization can be used in any walk of life for a little push, for some inspiration, to get you through rough times, and sometimes something to look forward to. How about a business person looking to accomplish something? If you look at athletes, they visualize their next event, being a game or a show. They repeat over and over again how things are going to go, what their move will be if this happens, how it's going to feel when they enter the arena. Every detail helps. Everything you can expect, like what the place smells like, what it feels like, what kind of environment you'll be in. Going through all these factors in your mind gives you an advantage over your opponent for athletes or a phone call or a business meeting for that matter. The advantage is you're ready and prepared for anything that may come up. You've seen it before. You've gone through it and you're mentally prepared. This makes a world of difference and can be replicated in business and in life. Sometimes we beat ourselves before we even get in a room to pitch our idea or make a sale. We don't believe someone's going to agree with us. We don't believe we can make a sale or think someone's going to be unhappy when they pick up the phone, if they do at all. Going through positive results over and over in our mind before the actual event can change our perspective, our confidence, and the entire outcome. Think about it. If you're on the phone with someone, they can hear the nervousness in your voice. They can hear how unconfident you are. But if you've gone through this before and you've experienced success in your mind in this direct situation, then at the very least, you've given yourself a chance. There's hope in achieving what you set out to do, and sometimes that's all we need. There's meditation of quieting our minds and being able to slow things down when things get to be too much. We may feel overwhelmed, scared, or hurt. We may need a break and a time to get away. All these things we need, but don't actually do, can be done in our minds. If we practice and give ourselves a chance, most people say, I can't meditate, and that's the end of it. I can't are horrible words that never accomplish anything, which is why I can't stand hearing them. But let's leave that alone for now. Most of us know what it's like to get away from our everyday life. We know what it's like to take a step back, have a break from the stresses of our lives, or more specifically, jobs, obligations, finances, and sit on the beach and do nothing. Whether it be in the mountains or on a boat, wherever it is you like to get away and spend time relaxing, we know the feeling of that right there. The feeling of having nothing to do or think about or nowhere to be without a project or appointment. And if you don't, you should really consider finding a way to get away. What I'm getting at here is that feeling of total relaxation we can have without getting away. We can do exactly that in our own home. And I know some aren't going to like this, but the truth of the matter is, this is exactly what meditation is and what it can do for you. What if you could get away without getting away, instead of fearing your own thoughts? Of course, we'd all much rather jump on a plane and be in a far-off destination, but that's not always financially an option or time-wise, for that matter, because of the jobs we hold. But we can get away, and all we have to do is try a little bit every day. We don't need to sit down and try to think about nothing, as what most people think meditation is. We could sit and visualize our dream vacation. We could think of every detail possible. We could hear, smell, taste that vacation. Doesn't that sound wonderful? Isn't that something we want or could do? Well, of course it is. Take some time to sit down. Think a little where it is you want to go and what you want to do. We all daydream once in a while. We all think about something we want or somewhere we want to go. I hear it all the time. Most of us are waiting for something extravagant